But how about, Pete, the relative health of this team with the two running backs healthy again, Etienne and Robinson?
Well, Robinson's still kind of working on the side. They're kind of working him back in. But the fact that he's not on the PUP list is incredible. The guy tore his Achilles tendon in December. I mean, it's amazing. And we've seen this happen with running backs. I mean, Cam Akers came back and played in the same season last year. Now, was he the same back? No. But it is amazing that James Robinson is on the practice field. He's not on the PUP list. And they want him to be a guy who can carry the football. And they can use Etienne in a lot of different ways. They can get Etienne out in the passing game. They can line him up as a wide receiver, which is something he wants to do. He told me that. So it'll be real interesting if they can get Robinson back for the regular season opener.
Yeah, by not putting him on PUP tells you that they're very confident they'll have him back for the season opener, because most times the only time a team can put a player on PUP and actually then put him on reserve PUP at the cutdown is if they did it today. So every indication that we saw him moving around today, them not putting him on the PUP list, that they expect him to be ready for the opener.
And it's a good 1-2 combination, Chris. You got a power runner and you got a speed guy. It's a nice 1-2 combination if they both get if Robinson can get back to being healthy.
With a hamstring, not on the PUP list, but dealing with an injury. What's the latest on him?
Yeah, and you don't want to see that opening your training camp experience for the NFL with a hamstring injury. And from what I was told, he hurt it the last couple of days. They're just being cautious with him. I think this is one of those situations where if it was a regular season week, he would probably practice and play. They're just being a little more cautious. He's a big part of what they want to do. Remember, Myles Jack is not here. They let him go, and they replaced him with not only Devin Lloyd, but Chad Muma, another linebacker they drafted out of Wyoming. And they also have Foye Oluokun, who's going to be a really good player next to him. So their linebacker group is upgraded. It's going to be faster, but you got to get Lloyd on the field.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see him because when you watched his tape in college, he's a big athletic linebacker that can play the run. But the thing that really stuck out to me, and I'm interested on how they're going to implement this, is how good he is as a blitzer. And when you can get a linebacker that size and match him up when they're pass protecting up front and he has to get one-on-one with a running back, that's going to be a mismatch all day. And I think by blitzing him and having him also be a part of the package, they're going to be able to pressure the quarterback along with Walker, along with Allen, and a lot of the guys that we saw today. They're going to be pretty solid on defense.
Yeah, they were last in the NFL in a bunch of defensive categories last season, including takeaways and 3-and-out percentage. They hope that the defense can take some of the pressure off that offense. And Doug Peterson, I mean, he was kind of Brandon Staley before Brandon Staley. When he was with the Eagles, nobody went for it on fourth down more. But how do you balance that aggression that Peterson likes with a young quarterback who was coerced into a lot of interceptions last season?
Let me defer to my analytics buddy over here.
Me and Pete were talking about analytics, and I couldn't believe what a math whiz he is and how much he believes in analytics. So what I think you're going to have to do is Doug's got to learn this team first. That's the number one thing. But analytics is a tool that you use to try to help make decisions. But what analytics cannot do is when that coach has 60-some thousand people screaming at him and it's 4th and 1 and they're playing against the number one defense versus the run in the NFL, are you still going to go for it? So analytics creates conversation. It just takes numbers. But these coaches are the ones that are responsible on whether to go for it or not. And numbers you don't see the numbers on the weather conditions, injuries, anything like that.
I'm old school. You know that. I'm an old school guy. I believe in analytics. I think they're a supplement to what you do. But game flow matters. Where you do it matters. This isn't Madden football. And everybody, I know the analytics guys, they love it. Oh, just go for it. Go for it all the time. It's Madden football. I learned this when I was 12 years old playing Madden football. That's all well and good. But Brandon Staley cost himself some games last year. And I think you have to be better with how you use your analytics. Game flow matters. If the game is 6-3 and you have a 4th and 1, you don't go for it. If it's 45-41 and you have a 4th and 1, you go for it. There's different situations that matter. It's not just about the numbers.
Right, and I can tell you about algorithms, but when you're trying to teach me about how to do long division again, which I haven't done since the 3rd grade, I think that's where your analytics actually stopped.
All right, Pete, you spoke with Christian Kirk, the prize free agency acquisition of the Jaguars earlier today. Got a kick out of that conversation because you rose the question to him. Boy, what about those people who think that this wide receiver room has a lot to prove? And he looked at you and he said, yeah, if you have that thought, you should keep that to yourselves because that's not the way we are thinking of it. What did you take away from your convo with Kirk?
Yeah, and it was an interesting conversation because I also asked him about having a bullseye, being the high, one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league. When a lot of people think he should have been paid that money, I think he should have been. I think this is a rising player. You pay rising players. You don't pay for what you've done. You pay for what you're going to do. And sometimes in free agency, it becomes names over games. And I think this is a game that's going to take itself to the next level in this offense. Look, I threw out 80 catches. He said that's low. Basically, and he's going to get above that. And I said 12 touchdowns. He said he'd take it. So I think this is a big year for Christian Kirk.
Yeah, and he's a very good player. I'm not going to argue with that, but I think he's best in the slot where he can create mismatches and utilize his quickness. I don't think he's a speed guy, and the only concern I have with him is how many big explosive type plays down the field will he be able to make. Now, he's going to make a ton of plays, I think, in this West Coast system, in this outside zone system, and getting the ball in his hands. But I don't see him like a Tyreek Hill, who once they get the ball in their hands, they can just go and make a 10-yard reception into an 80-yard touchdown.
There's a lot of Tyreek Hills in this league, aren't there? Like one.
Apparently, when Pete was talking about his high school days, it was him and Steve Hutchinson. But I thought, were you
I was a guard. He was a tackle. He's the second best. That's a whole other story.
Hey, Pete, the boss just walked in. What color is Pete's shirt? What'd you say that is? Fuchsia. Teal.
Fuchsia.
He's going with teal.
Porch
There it
just
is,
threw out-
Pete. He tried to claim earlier
It's not
green.
teal,
He
it's
wore
green.
Teal because he's
It's
in
green.
Jacksonville.
It's green.
Hey, guys, let's look ahead to
I'm the
week
mayor of
one.
this city. I don't need
know
to
you
wear
are.
the shirt
I know
team
you are.
colors, Chris.
Hey, Rick told us that he likes the Jags to win outright in week one in D.C. They're 4-point dogs. He's got them plus 170 on the money line. What do you see from that first chunk of games that also includes the Colts and trips to the Chargers and the Eagles?
Well, I think it's a tough start for them. I mean, look, you have them 1-0 out of the gate already, and people around the league are already buzzing about that. They're talking about it, as you know. Look, they can win that game, but that's a tough way to start. You know, the Colts are a division team. They've traditionally played well against them, but the Eagles, I think, are going to be a good team, and we know the Chargers are. So it's a tough way to start.
And those are two tough road games, to go out to L.A. to play in SoFi Stadium and then to go to Philadelphia, the reunion of supposedly Doug Peterson coming back there and seeing what kind of team he can put against his old team. But those are going to be tough games. But I think if they can get that first win, which I'm predicting they will, and then they got Houston kind of in that fifth slot, and if they can, on their home opener somehow surprise Indy, they may be 3-2 for the first 5 games.
Is it tough for a young team to go on the road right away? Is that tough to handle?
I think they have enough veteran leadership on this roster. They do have a young team, but enough guys that they brought in this offseason with all the free agents that they signed that have been in situations like that and will help bring along the young kids.
We took our rookie on the road, and he's done great so far, let me tell you.
Already carrying you, Pete, and looking forward to more coverage coming up later on today and tomorrow when you'll be talking with Trevor Lawrence. Guys, thank you so much. Great job out there in Jacksonville covering the Jags, who are plus 750 to win the AFC South. They're 4-1 to make the postseason with an over-under win total of 6 and a hook.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.